How often are you guys on Twitter? Are you guys regular Twitter users?
I go on a couple of times a week.
No, nowhere near as frequent a user as you are, but
yeah,
but I get out there.
That would have been a more succinct way of saying that.
I was pretty late to Twitter, honestly. I was late to the party. I wasn't really paying attention to Twitter until maybe like a year or two ago.
Oh, I wasn't paying attention to Twitter until I joined the Voices crew. So
yeah, I think it's hard. I think it's kind of part of doing this. So I think Twitter is part of that package. Yeah, the reason I bring it up, are you guys, so have you been on it all this week? Because it has been like an extremely entertaining week to be on Twitter.
I tapped in when the Kente Stoles came out earlier this week because I was like, there are things that I'm not on Twitter that much, but I'm like, oh, Black Twitter is going to have a field day with this. Let me go check it. Like, you just see it and you're just like, you know what? This isn't going to be nearly as good as all the memes that come from it. Mm-hmm. But that's really the extent of my scrolling this week.
Well, there were three tweets that were hilarious to me that were I'm going to say two tweets that are hilarious and one tweet that's so awful that it's like kind of hilarious, I guess. One tweet is an alt-right or like Republican right-wing dude who tweets at Tom Morello, the guitarist from Rage Against the Machine, and tells him that he used to be into the band before they got all political.
Before they got all political?
Before they got all political?
Yeah. This guy says, I used to be a fan until your political opinions came out. Music is my sanctuary, and the last thing I want to hear is political BS when I'm listening to music. As far as I'm concerned, you and Pink are completely done. Keep running your mouth and ruining your fan base.
I love thinking about Rage Against the Machine and Pink being like the music that this guy was just like super down with, and then all of a sudden he's like, fuck those guys.
No, I'm out. I'm not doing it anymore.
Do it.
This fucking liberal bullshit. People, dude, the clapback on Twitter was so good too. This guy's like, the Pixelated Boat account has this, he's like, Tom Morello, I used to be a fan until I found out how your band feels about the machine.
Yeah, that's
hilarious. I just love I don't want my music to have like political undertones. Like, what?
What music could you possibly be talking about, you fucking dumbass? I just love, dude, it must be so fucking frustrating, like, as a right-winger to listen to music in general, right? Like,
totally,
Village people just told Trump that he had to stop using Macho Man and YMCA at his rallies.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, these guys,
music
every time
is inherently political. I mean, it takes a position on what's happening in the world. So, like,
on everything.
I mean, that's what made me start laughing the hardest. I was like, your argument makes no sense.
Oh, no sense at all.
whatsoever.
No. Well, especially with a band like
our lives have a soundtrack.
Yeah.
Dude, these guys have been burning American flags on stage and rapping about how police departments are the oppressors of the poor for like 30 years. Yeah. This isn't a new thing, you know? Yes.
Well, it's like the people who like woke up. I love the SNL made fun of it, but like the people who woke up and were like, "Oh my God, Beyonce's black." Like,
right?
I was like, did you miss that? Like, were you confused? Like, did you never just watch the video? You only heard it on the radio, and you just kind of assumed like Adele's white, maybe she's white too. Like, that was so fascinating to me. Like, what have you been listening to all this time? Because her music feels very black and very womanish, which has political undertones even when it doesn't.
Another fan. This is kind of the one I want to leave us with, because this is, I mean, it's just kind of, this is the one that's not really funny so much as it is just like, all right, so today, it is the 11th today, correct?
Correct.
Yes, as you're listening to this on the 12th, we're recording it on the 11th. Donald, our president, the president of the United States of America,
my president?
Your president and mine, Donald Trump, tweets today, our great National Guard troops who took care of the area around the White House could hardly believe how easy it was. A walk in the park, one said. The protesters, agitators, anarchists, Antifa, and others were handled very easily by the Guard, DC Police, and the SS. So
Oh.
he's referring to the Secret Service as the SS on Twitter now.
That's good.
Like,
Okay, so this is the thing I did see. I saw something where someone
Donnie.
had like posted an SS badge as a response to this, like, or here's like Trump's new logo, and that he's an idiot. He's an idiot.
dude, I love it. He's just I'm just waiting for him to like walk out onto stage and like just like clan robes at a rally and just be like,
Yeah.
what? I'm sorry. Oh wait, I forgot to change. My bad.
Oops.
Like at some point, it's gonna come to this.
Yeah, I mean, can't wait for it.
Yeah, it'll be really great.
I need,
extremely great.
For that reason, I need to spend more time on Twitter because I can't miss it. And I can't miss the clapback when it happens.
Yeah, he's holding his first rally in Tulsa, I believe, for an extra little fuck you.
Of course, it's in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Well, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which holds its own significance that I am sure is not lost on that man.
Yeah,
Anyway, now that everybody's fucking laughing their asses off, I guess you guys want to start the show.
Yes, I do.
Yes, let's start the show.
All right, fucking great comedic opener, guys. We've done it again.
Voices, the things they said. Voices, some from those dead. All the voices heard. Voices, things we say. Voices, they're in your head. All the voices heard.
Hello, everyone. You've got Skylar.
And Shannon.
And Flo.
And we do not have Dave today. Dave is out of town for this episode. He says he's going to join us remotely for Tuesday's episode, but we'll see. We'll just see about that.
We shall see.
Yeah.
In the meantime, you do have 75% of the Voices podcast still working for you.
Have we ever done a show, just the three of us? Yes, my first one.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the first time that you were on, Dave was in Nevada.
Like, pre-COVID shelter in place. Dave was out of town. It was the three of us. That was back when like we could get together in person and do these kinds of things.
The first time you had a White Claw ever, right?
That was my first White Claw ever, and now I'm drinking the Corona seltzer.
I like that. Solidarity for Corona, who makes a good product and is going to suffer unfairly due to this entire virus that it has named after it.
Correct. Correct. So yeah, I think we've come full circle. My first episode was about Corona, and now here we are opening with Corona while I'm drinking Corona. All right.
All right.
Oh my
Sweet.
gosh,
Yeah.
look
Who
at
needs
that.
Dave with all these seltzers?
whatever.
It's so much. It's so much.
Exactly.
We need him to tell us what to talk about.
Shannon, please stop talking so I can tell us what we're going to be talking about.
I'm done talking now.
So we are about to enter into tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. We are entering in 4 counties around us, Yolo, El Dorado Hills, and Placer, I believe, are all entering phase 3, which is my understanding means that a number of things that have been closed are now going to be open, including gyms, schools, bars, hotels, and a number of other things.
Correct.
I think obviously there's going to be like a bunch of people, like a lot of people who are excited about this because after being locked up in your house for months and months and months, the idea of going to a bar is really enticing and nice. I think other people will have some concerns about it. And Flo, I want to get your take on this because I know that we're also Sac County, and I think just kind of generally countrywide, we're seeing a spike in coronavirus cases from what I can see.
Yes.
And we're also just coming off of like 2 solid weeks of protests, which, you know, are going to have their own effect on it as well. What's your take on Sacramento going to phase 3?
Oh, look at that. My take on Sacramento going to phase 3 is, on one hand, it's promising because it means that our caseload has met the criteria and that we have enough testing to meet the criteria to be cleared for phase 3 reopening. So that is positive. The challenge is that, you know, we still have relatively low testing numbers in general. So while we have testing capacity, we're not seeing lots of people showing up for testing for a myriad of reasons, not the least of which has been that I think a lot of our attention has been focused over the last couple of weeks in other ways.
Right.
So that's also happening. Also, you know, the weather is getting warmer. People are outside more and people are just feeling that itch, you know, to be around one another. And so we recognize that some of the behaviors that have helped us to flatten the curve are changing, right? We're, you know, fewer people have gotten sick, you know, and so we're starting to relax some of our precautions. And so it's something to really be mindful of. I'm heartened that I'm at least seeing people still continuing to wear masks in general. People are still trying to do some distancing, but now there's this sort of like stutter step we do when we see each other. Like, are you be touching? Are we elbow bumping?
Yeah,
Are we not? Like, are we air hugging? Like, what are we doing, right? And so I think I think that's just something for us to be mindful of, is remembering to, like, when I've been out, and I've certainly been at some, you know, group gatherings and protests and that sort of thing, to keep my hand sanitizer on, keep my mask on, unless I'm standing right next to Tareen and like breathing in his face, because, you know, if one of us gets COVID, we're both getting COVID.
That's how it's going to go.
That's just how this family is going to roll. So, so with the exception of, you know, I've been trying to stay farther away from people, and I've really been trying to, but it's hard because I'm an extrovert and I'm a hugger. So I empathize with all of you out there who are like, I just want to love on some people. And I'm also a booty smacker. So I really like to smack some ass. And I'm just like, I haven't smacked an ass in so long. And I'm just itching for a smacking.
That's the worst that's the most,
the hardest part.
That's the way that coronavirus really spreads the quickest too, as I understand. Yeah,
it is. It's the hand to ass contact. That's really the primary way. That's what we really need to be concerned about. I know you didn't see it in the official guidelines, but
yeah,
you're welcome, Sacramento.
But the doctor
I have been smacking asses, and now you can get haircuts. You're welcome.
Yeah. We do owe you a huge debt of gratitude for that.
Yeah, totally. I have a question.
Yeah,
I have a question about this. So the Bee reported yesterday, I think it was, that home gatherings are the primary space where people are transmitting COVID. Can you,
because we're least likely to distance there, right? Like,
right.
In general, our homes are small, so we're not going to get 6 feet apart from each other. And then we're more likely to touch things, to be eating, to have our hands on our mouth, right? Like, all of those intimate behaviors that you do in somebody's home are amplified when you're in a home.
Mm-hmm.
You're using the bathroom, you're touching, you know, knobs and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're just more likely to have close contact in the ways that amplify the spread of COVID. So, you know, what I've been encouraging people, and I know that there's a little like, I guess a GIF going around, or maybe just an image going around of like things to do. I've seen the GIF version as well of like the activities, like safe ones, and you know, it moves around, and like not so safe, or moderately safe, not so safe. But I've also seen the list, and what I think we just all need to be aware of is like, we still need to be conscious of this. We still need to be trying to, you know, physically distance to the extent possible. And so my rule right now has been, we haven't had anybody else in our house, with one exception was when we had to actually have some work done here on our HVAC and all of that. But aside from that, we haven't had anybody in the house. And when we did, we stayed in our rooms when he had to come in and move around. And we have had a couple of backyard gatherings, and I pull out my my measuring tape, and I make sure those seats are at least 6 to 7 feet apart from one another. And then, you know, I let people one at a time go in to use the bathroom. And, you know, and that's kind of the way that I've been trying to make it so that, you know, we can still enjoy one another, but everybody's wearing masks, we're staying apart from each other, and we're not in the house at the same time. And after they leave, I do a kind of deep clean. I leave some, you know, cleaning supplies out so they can wipe up after themselves, the things that they touch. But we've learned more over time that it's not really the surfaces that are the problem, it's the close contact. So that's the thing we need to be most mindful of. Like, if you're going to ease up on some things, it's really the, you know, obviously touching your face is going to be another way, but it's not really the surfaces that are transmitting. It's really the talking to one another and being in close proximity.
Well, that's, I mean, too, I think a lot of people, and I 100% can understand how people get here, but I think people are looking at, oh, cool, we're opening to phase 3, like things are safer. I don't have to pay as much attention to wearing my mask or doing anything preventive, which is kind of, and I get that this is kind of counterintuitive, but it's my understanding that it's like, no, this is the time you really want to be wearing your mask, right? Because they aren't opening up because the thing is gone. They are opening up because the hospitals are not overwhelmed right now,
right? Exactly,
which means that they are counting. What part of opening up means that they are counting on those beds filling up. So it is definitely like, you know, I mean, dude, enjoy yourself. You know, like I'm dying to go to go down and like have a sit down at the bar and see a bunch of people I haven't seen in a while, you know?
Yeah. That's actually like the riskiest thing you can do is be indoors at a bar, because you're not going to be 6 feet apart, and you're going to be in close proximity to one another. And you're drinking as well, so you can't wear your mask the whole time, right? Like, so it's rife for transmission.
Oh man, the bar. I drink. I'm a regular at pre-flight, or under times when we're not in a global pandemic. I'm at pre-flight. That place is like transmission central for a whole bunch of things, just in a good way, like on a good day. I mean, I would say there's a decent chance that place is ground zero for COVID-19 in California.
With its one door to enter and exit, and
yeah, exactly. I say that in a loving way. It is like my favorite bar in the whole world. I can't wait to get back there. That said, I think I'm going to see what this second wave is about before I go cruising in there.
Yeah, it's really helpful to me to think about this as the reason that we find ourselves where we do is because the beds are available. So my decision to do anything is really a decision as to whether or not I should take that bed, right? Like, right. And I think for me, like I go to work and I go to the grocery store once a week, and that's it. I don't even do like backyard hangs or porch hangs or anything. It sucks. Like, I miss my friends. I want to be sitting out on a patio at a bar. I want to have a backyard barbecue, but I think that framing that like this is about the beds and the testing being available
and about the economy.
Right. Certainly, yeah,
it's about the economy. Yeah,
it seems like, I don't know, what's your take on like Newsom? Seems like he kind of has changed his tune a little bit. It seemed like at the beginning of this thing he was like, I'm not even worried about the economy. It's about lives. I'm going to listen to the like health experts let them tell me what to do. Right. And it kind of seems like maybe there's a little more pressure, and that he's kind of changed his tune around on that a little bit.
Yeah, the long-term economic forecast is not good, right? So, because some of these businesses are not coming back and they won't immediately be replaced. So that's going to be just a challenge, because it's going to mean that city, county, and state revenue is going to be down. And it's also going to just mean that people are going to be hurting. So I think, you know, in the beginning when this was really spreading quickly and we were trying to quell it, because let's be real here. If we had done nothing, like, we would have completely crippled the state. So it's not as if in the beginning he can say that and seem like he's saying, you know, fuck the economy. But really what he was saying is like, I'm making an economic decision to shut this down because it will be worse if all of you people die. Like, that's really the decision that's being made, and nobody says it like that. You say, of course, we care about the lives, but the lives have economic consequences. And so if you have a good chunk of your workforce out and sick and potentially dying, that's a problem. And especially when we don't know what the long-term impact of that's going to be. You can't have a bunch of 30-somethings not living to their full life expectancy because our economy relies on us being able to pay into taxes based on those actuary tables. So it's a real problem. So I mean, I hate to be that callous about it, but like that's ultimately what undergirds it. Like certainly the public health people are like, let's save some lives, but we're not shutting the economy down because we're trying to save lives. If we were, we would have universal basic income.
Oh, say that.
Yeah.
Right? Like if we actually cared about lives, like this isn't about that.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's also I think in the beginning, all of this was just so uncertain. And I mean, to this day, it still is, right? I mean, the science is still developing around how to work with this virus, how to cure it, how it lives, when it goes away, all of this stuff. But I think in the beginning, it was easier for the governor to say, we're going to do the following things and we're going to do these things, you know, like we're trusting science, not people's desire to get out of their homes or whatever. Probably in the back of his mind thinking like, this is like a month-long thing, right? Like this isn't going to last that long. We're going to get this shit figured out. And then as time goes on, you realize more and more that this is very serious. Like, and then he realizes that the economy is slowly inching closer and closer to a recession. And now I think technically we are in a recession, and it's like we gotta open shit back up. So
yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, like we're right when it started, it was like, all right, yeah, this will probably suck for a couple of months, and I'm reading these articles that are like 18 months from now, XYZ, and I'm like, oh no.
Oh yeah, I mean, like Nate and I have talked about it, and we're like our decisions right now really mean that like there's the potential for us to not see our friends for a year or more in like close spaces, right? Like if we're gonna do this and do it right, and that is just like, holy shit, that's out of control. It's bananas. I don't know how to like make sense of that. And
so you're obviously a high risk worker, right? So I mean, I totally get your precaution. I think, you know, the way I want to frame this also is that like we've always engaged in a harm reduction model in public health, right? Like that's why we tell you use condoms as opposed to abstinence only, right? Because telling people to never have sex is like, unless they want to procreate, is like ridiculous. And so there's going to be some risk of you know, pregnancy for people who are able to become pregnant. There's going to be some risk of STDs for people who are having sexual contact, but we recognize that the intimacy and the ability to have like a sex life in many ways outweighs those risks, right? And so the same thing is going to have to be true here when we talk about COVID. Like in the beginning, we were just trying to make sure it didn't run like wildfire and kill a bunch more people than we could. And over time, some of our normals are going to change, right? I think mask wearing is probably going to be a thing that doesn't go away for a very long time here. Like we're going to look a little more like China in terms of like that's commonplace there, right? I think, you know, being reluctant about how many people we touch and how often we shake hands and that sort of thing is going to stick around. What I hope doesn't stick around, though, is our tendency to stay away from the people that we love. Because the one thing that I've been worried about and that we've talked a lot about on the show is people's mental health. And we are social creatures. And we need people to be around. And so one of the things that I've been encouraging us to sort of get to phase 3 is to figure out who your expanded shelter-in-place buddies were, right? We talked before about like the people you live with and, you know, maybe even a close family, you know, outside of yours is kind of your shelter-in-place buddies. Now that we're getting to a place where, you know, we're starting to interact more and we need that because we can't stay isolated for forever, maybe expanding that circle to a few families or a few friends or something like that. But still being mindful of like, we're not going to be out hugging and hanging out with and doing all this stuff with everybody like we used to. We're going to try to keep it small. And that's a risk reduction behavior because it limits your amount of contact. So I know for our family, we're going to continue ordering our groceries and picking them up because that's not a risk that's worth the reward, right? Like I don't get anything from just being in the aisles with random strangers in the grocery store. But I am going to allow myself to spend more still social distancing time with people that I care about because that's a risk that actually comes with emotional and physical and social benefits for me.
Right.
Yeah, I think a lot of, like, I don't know, it looks to me like a lot of people like who were taking this seriously and who still are, but who like really do want to do the right thing here have sort of evolved like kind of like you're saying where it's like, okay, maybe if I have 3 friends and I know that they are also being safe with this, then we can hang out on my porch 6 feet apart and have some beers, and it's not the worst thing in the world, you know?
Right.
Which I don't know. I like that's been my experience, and and it looks like it's been quite a few people's experience. And I think.
But I'm going to keep working from home, right? And I'm going to keep because those are things that the risk doesn't outweigh there's not that same social benefit.
Right.
But certain things are, you can begin to now think about what's risk reduction. And to me, it's wear a mask, try to physically distance, but get outside a little bit more and see some people a little bit more as we're opening up. I don't know that I'm going back to the gym, or you all, if you do gyms or things like that.
No,
I've not done any restaurants. So I'm kind of trying to limit my contact in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, it's the consideration of like where I work and what I do every day and how I have to be like if I get it, Nate's gonna get it, and vice versa, right? Just like
right.
Flo, you and Tareen. But I think about that, like inviting someone into my backyard and then potentially into my house, just them to use the toilet, use the restroom. Then that's like, I think about those risks, and I'm not like in a space where I'm just like cycling over it. It's just like right now, I haven't felt like I'm in a space to start having those gatherings. Maybe a short like half-hour chat on the porch or even in the backyard, like that would be cool. But I'm not to like backyard gathering, come inside and use my restroom status yet. And I think I'll get there eventually.
I think it's extremely important to like trust your own comfort level and don't do anything that freaks you out in that regard.
Yeah, trying not to do things that freak me out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, guys, speaking of things that freak me out, I'm really nailing these segues on this show.
You're
lately,
doing
by
a
the way.
great
I feel
job.
like I should pat myself on the back for some of these great segues. So there has been like Daryl Steinberg's response to what has been happening in this town in regards to civil rights, essentially has been pretty underwhelming. They are getting ready to pass a budget. There are, of course, a lot of cries for defunding or abolishing the police department. Steinberg has said he's not interested in anything like that. It seems like he, in fact, is going to go maybe even a little further than not wanting to defund the police. Can somebody I'm kind of hazy on the details of this. Can somebody walk me through where Steinberg's head is at with this thing?
Yeah, so he was quoted in the Cap Radio on Monday as saying that he's completely opposed to defunding or disbanding the police in any way, shape, or form, which is definitely, whether people recognize it or not, a form of anchoring, because that sets the tone of like no change coming, right? When people are crying for major change coming, which is definitely not cool. But my personal feeling, and there's a now a News and Review article to kind of underscore what exactly has happened. But my feeling is that they've been disingenuous And that was part of the reason why I elected not to attend the march or protest or whatever was considered on Saturday where they participated, because I felt like it was sanctioned by the people who have the authority to make changes, and have not lived up to their responsibilities, and that watching them kneel and perform allyship was not gonna settle well with me when they are proposing a budget where the money that has been, taxed on the backs of poor people. And we know that anytime you pass a tax, it's regressive. So people with less money pay more into it proportionately for their income. And then they are being, are not having the promises met. This money was promised to be about inclusive economic development and community investment. And now, based on the lower projections of revenue for Measure U, 50% of it is proposed to go to the police in this budget that'll be passed. So that is troubling.
To say the least. That is a huge knife in the back of everybody who lives in this city.
And to be clear, that means that they've gotten a $15 million raise in a year, because they got an extra 10 last year and then an additional 5. And let's remember that this is happening during a recession, during a time where we're having a global pandemic, and during a time where the money for small businesses that the city was giving out to support them, I think, ran out in a day or less. So in a time where we still have people who are unhoused, and where state workers, SEIU is currently negotiating with the state to not do pay increases and to actually do some potential furloughs and that sort of thing. So everybody else is having to take a cut. And this is the time when the police and the police unions in particular are inching for more, even though crime is down and the police have not been particularly helpful in fighting COVID, and they won't even wear freaking masks. So it's a real spit in the face, even if you're not a person who's like Black Lives Matter or cares at all about, what's happening, in terms of the police state being incredibly violent. You should have some questions about the fact that you likely, as a potential state worker in a town like Sacramento, are about to take a pay cut, but the police are increasingly taking money away from the things that actually would make you safer, and the things that our most needy communities were relying on and supported this because of. So.
Yeah, this has been like a national thing. Joe Biden has come out against defunding the police. Pelosi and Schumer are both against it. Bernie fucking Sanders came out against defunding the police. So this is and I really want to highlight this for folks, because I feel like a lot of especially like business Democrat, like liberal types, when they see a bunch of kids in the street like being mad and yelling and breaking shit, there's a lot of this I hope they show up to vote, because none of this, of this makes any difference if people don't vote. And the point that I guess the point I'm trying to make with this is all of the people who are perpetrating this shit against us are Democrats. Daryl Steinberg is a Democrat, so trying to tell people that the way to get things like police justice or defunding or abolishing the police, telling them that voting for Democrats is the way to do that is completely disingenuous. Right now that the same thing is happening in New York. The same thing is true. All of their city leadership is all Democratic, in a ton of big cities around the country, it's all Democratic leadership. Minneapolis is. But to be quite honest, I would credit the people who burned down that fucking police precinct with that. I think that I would honestly, I don't know, maybe this is hyperbolic, but I think the people who burned that police precinct down did more for police reform in a night than the Democrats have done in centuries.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's this point that, you've got people who come back and say you got to get out there and vote to change things. It's just it is a denial of the reality, which is that even when you do vote people in that you think are about change, who like stand on a platform that is about change, at the end of the day, they're getting their money from the police unions. So they're not gonna actually be a part of the radicalization of anything.
Yep.
They're, Steinberg over there is like, Chief Han, you want $15 million? Sure, no problem. Here it is.
Oh, he's completely fucking hogtied by these guys. He's got nothing to say. I don't think he could do anything about this if he wanted to, and he doesn't. Right. But I mean, like, I don't know.
I think they can come back to the negotiating table. Everybody else does. SCAU has a contract, and they're at the negotiating table. So, the real question that I think has to be posed when we have this Measure U meeting now, because there were threats to not have the meeting because they didn't want to hear from us. I guess I've been too vocal an opponent of how they've chosen to spend the money already, and maybe recently a little too vocal about my defund stance. Sorry, I guess not my you. Abolition stance is out of the bag. Sorry, I can't be the spook who sat by the door anymore because I'm no longer undercover. But not that I ever was. I guess I was just hiding in plain sight. But I feel like we've been too vocal, and I feel like given everything we said before this platform, like if you go back and look at past Measure U committee meetings, the entire committee is furious with the city for not getting us the information that we need, and for spending the money without us in ways that just don't reflect what was promised to communities or what most of us signed up to be here for. We were promised something, and we have, to paraphrase Dr. King's "I Have a Dream" speech, we have not, been paid in full. This has been you've reneged on a promise that you were supposed to have. So yeah, I think they were intentionally trying to, because the other thing that came up was, now mind you, it's so hard to schedule things with the city. I mean, we have to have it takes a month or so to just even get your entire schedule for the year. And they were saying, oh, we'll find some time in early July, after the budget is passed, to be able to have your budget oversight committee meet, right? Like, we'll move up your July meeting. So you can move that around, but you can't find staff to work on Monday when this was their regularly scheduled meeting, and we haven't had any staff cuts yet. So I'm confused about why we can't staff a Zoom meeting.
Right.
And I'm confused about why the investment committee has been able to meet for months, why everybody else has been able to find. You all have called 2 emergency Zoom meetings, one to bring the National Guard in and set a curfew, and another one to stop it. So you can use up those city resources for nonsense that nobody asked for, but for the committee that's supposed to be giving you community grounded advice on how to spend this money, you suddenly don't have the capacity. I'm calling bullshit.
Yeah. I read the National Guard cost us
waiting. Let's do this. $25 million.
$25 million. Yeah.
What?
Yes.
Yeah. That's what it costs to have the fucking National Guard come and occupy downtown Sacramento and make sure everybody goes home at 8.
Yeah.
$25 million.
$25 million.
Fuck that.
But mind you, inclusive economic development is getting $4 million this year, you guys.
Right.
Not the 40 that would be the entire half cent.
Yeah.
Cuatro.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. Yeah. It's great. And by the way, let me just have some smoke for fire. I know, smoke for fire. The fire department really enjoys being, the example I love to use is Ice-T to the Crips, right? Like, Ice-T was never a Crip, but he definitely enjoyed the benefits of affiliation. And the fire department is that. They like to be police and fire. They like to be lumped under public safety. And they have been skating along, getting way too much money for us not to be in 1900 when houses are catching on fire every day. Like, we have fire extinguishers. We have better electric panels, right? Like, we're not burning down at the rate we used to. And so, yes, we do have wildfires, and that's an emergency situation, but you are gobbling up a pretty big chunk of municipal budgets. Together with police, you all are 2/3 to 3/4 of most city budgets. And so it's really important that we also don't just let them skate along because they're not out in the streets murdering people.
Right.
That they also are gobbling up a big chunk of the budget. Right. And I would argue that while they're not they're not violent, right? And people have a generally fond feeling of them. And so I'm not as eager to defund them, they also are taking up a lot of space and are not necessarily giving us the value that we could get out of that money being spent elsewhere. So I would actually, like to see us have fewer full-time firefighters who are mostly taking cats out of trees and responding to medical emergencies, and to put that money into ambulance care, because we do have a lot of folks who, need emergency transportation, and also into other things throughout the city. And then to have a as needed fire corps that can come together when there are wildfires or there's a greater need, and do it similar to how people in the National Guard are called up for service when needed, but are not full-time, employees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think like it's easier on firefighters maybe because like their basic function in society is benevolent, right? Like they 100% without any like, it's not the same thing with the cops where like they tell us why we have cops, but that's not really why we have cops. Right. Like firefighters actually do serve like a good purpose, you know, and I think that's probably why people aren't.
But they need to stop hanging out with the police.
Right.
Like they need to disavow that association, because it's kind of like being the super woke person who's at all the protests, but the person you hang out with flies a Confederate flag all the time and hates everyone. Like, you got to question, like, are you as benevolent as you think, since you enjoy hanging out with them so much?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really has been like, man, these last 2 weeks have been kind of incredible. I mean, all over the country, obviously, but just as somebody who lives in Sacramento, it's been pretty wild to watch. Things go the way that they've gone, and I hope that people stay loud.
Totally.
I've been out in the street a number of times in the last couple of weeks to support and be out in solidarity. I'm exhausted. I have to imagine there's obviously people who have been doing like 1,000,000 times what I've been doing, who must be 1,000,000 times more exhausted, and so I 100% like I feel like we're lulling a little bit from where we were like a week and a half ago, but I hope it comes back up, and I will go back out and get back out there, because I don't know, man. Like as a Sacramentan, I don't want to take the gas off right now. Like these guys have to answer for this shit. We can't fucking let them win,
And the budget hasn't been passed. So there is some real direct, agitation that I think we need to channel our righteous indignation at the fact that everything that just happened, and you all are out there taking a knee and saying Black Lives Matter, but then you are giving more money to the very entity that, has been such a terroristic force in this community. And I think that, they sometimes feel like, we talk about this in media all the time. They feel like, it's important to present both sides. And so I feel like they are equally weighing the interest of a community that's been marginalized and harmed by this entity, as they are people who are like, I just kind of like having police around, like what would we do without them? And that's a false equivalence. It's like having Jenny McCarthy and also virologists on to talk about vaccines. Like, you don't get to occupy the same amount of time and space, right? Like you don't have equally balanced, valid arguments about this. And so I think the same thing is true here. And I just wish that our council could get to a place where they said, look, we are going to do an equity focus. And that means that some of you who are used to always being able to have your calls answered and have your needs met are going to have to stay where you are, which is a pretty good place already, while we try to catch up some other folks who haven't had their needs met. And that's the thing that irritates me most, is like the people who feel like they're going to lose out are already not suffering. So why wouldn't we turn our attention to the people who are and prioritize their needs for a while and ignore the people over here who maybe don't have everything, but by comparison and objectively are doing okay?
Right. The metaphor I always use for this with like, because I feel similarly about like disputes between like landlords and tenants and whatnot. Where it's like, okay, like I get that you guys want dessert. Like you guys are finished with your meal, you guys are moving on to dessert, but maybe before the whole conversation turns into like what you guys are going to have for dessert, maybe we can show the menu to these guys over here first.
Right.
Maybe we can let them inside.
Yeah. Let's let these guys at least have a seat at the table.
Just get some bread and water first before you start ordering dessert. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, his like honestly, in my perception, it has. I kind of can't believe that this many people in a protest on this scale has come out against police brutality. And now we're coming out of 2 weeks of just like a million examples of like police brutality caught on tape. And it really feels like police around the country have just kind of been like, yeah, we brutalize people illegally. We're not willing to stop brutalizing people illegally.
Oh, totally.
What the fuck are you guys going to do about it? Like, we have riot gear. Come and throw a water bottle at me and see what fucking happens.
Right.
You know?
It's not like standing from wherever they stand. There is this like inability to recognize that anything is wrong. Right? Because it just like all of that comes out of this like broken system that actually wasn't meant to protect people anyway. So they're like the systemic just injustice and bullshit that exists in police departments. They're just like, it's like you join up with the police department and they put like a microchip in your brain that just says all the time, like, be an asshole. Like Simi, is that his name?
Simi, yes. He is named, for those listeners, he is named after Arsenio Hall's character on Coming to America.
Great.
And apparently he's not happy about some noise that's happening outside. Hey, pup.
He's an agitator.
He's an agitator. He was cheering you on, Shannon. Please
That's
go
right.
on.
That's right. No, I think this is a thing that I have probably spent way too much time thinking about, where it's like, why can't they just see that this is wrong? Like, what is it? What the fuck is it about them that cops just continue to like get up and go to work, to a job that says like it's cool to not just like shoot rubber bullets at people, but like actual bullets at people. Like what about them like inside got messed up that they think that was a good idea?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what there's been a ton of pushback, at least like, among kind of more like centrist or moderate Democrats that I've seen. Again, like, because I mean, like now I feel like 3 weeks ago, like maybe 20% of the people on Facebook understood what ACAB meant. Now I think those numbers have gone up. We are
totally
that ACAB is a household term now, which honestly kind of owns. But like, there's been some pushback, and there's like this whole attitude of like, well, most cops they join the force because they want to serve their communities and make everybody safer. They want to be doing a good job, and they get up and risk their lives to keep you and me safe. And there are some psychos, but like, you can't let your opinion of the psychos color your opinion of the whole thing. And at this point, like Shannon was saying, I'm like, dude, honestly, like at this point, at this moment in American history, if you're a cop and you fucking show up to work, you're a shit cop. Like, I'm sorry, like that. There's no, like, you are being asked to do shit that is unconscionable, and you can quit. It's not like you don't have a fucking choice in what you're doing. Like, I don't know. Like, to me, it's just like, no, you're all bastards. You fucking show up, you put that riot gear on, you come out and you face down the people who you're supposed to be serving and protecting. Fuck you. Like, there's not a good one in your fucking rank.
Answer, right? Like sometimes I really wonder, like, I try. I actually had a conversation with a friend earlier today, and she was like, you have so much patience. I don't understand why you don't unfriend these people. And I was like, I really try to read through and consider how people are coming to their thought, even if I don't agree with them. But sometimes I really struggle with that. I really struggle with the, like, how do you not see this for what it is? Like, how is this not just part of the, like, reasonable human being test? Like, show me on this doll where somebody hurt you. Because I just don't understand how you don't get, like, there's some things that I just don't feel like should have to be an argument. They should just be a given that we all agree on. And I don't know. I just, there's a part of me that's like, we shouldn't have let the Confederacy back after the Civil War. And we should have let our southern border problem be those damn Virginians who want to come over and get our universal health care. I don't know. I just feel like, could we possibly raise the tenor of this conversation if we didn't have people anchoring so hard in the opposite direction?
Right.
Because I can't figure out how you can have a 9-member Democratic city council. Like, I understand the county board of supervisors. That's a fight because it's 5 members and you always have 2 or 3 people in each, in each political party.
Yeah,
so you're going to end up with some sort of moderate compromise. But to have 9 people in this supposedly the same political party and to not get better outcomes makes me feel like just the existence of such polarizing conversations makes it so that progress can't happen whole scale in the way that it should. And I feel like if you could constrain like the conversation, you could have better conversations, right? Because so we agree that we need to invest in people. How do we do that, right? Like, that's a conversation I want to join in on, right?
Right.
I don't want to start at the baseline of people should work even if it means they're going to risk their lives during a pandemic. Like, that's not a position I'm willing to even entertain and come to the table on.
Right. I know. Well, I think that's why, that's why I spend so much time harping on Democrats. Like, I kind of feel like right-wingers in a situation like this, they're not even worth talking about because they're, whatever. Like, they're like, yeah, the police are a fucking bunch of racist. They're a racist organization meant to keep the boots on the necks of poor and underserved people around the country, and that's great because I hate poor and underserved people around the country because I'm a Republican, right? There's they're good with the system functioning as it is. Right. The reason why I get so bent out of shape about fucking Joe Biden like toeing that same line is it's like, you're supposed to be the good guy. Like, you're supposed to be the one who's fucking speaking for us, and you won't do it. Like, all of the fucking Democrats in our city council, you guys won't fucking, none of you will stand up for the people. Not a single one of you. And that's why it's fucking frustrating. And that's why when I see these fucking libs on Facebook being like, these kids better vote. What the fuck are you talking about? Vote for what? Right. Like, what could I possibly be fucking voting for? Dude, kids are fucking smart enough to see that they're getting a lot more work done by fucking breaking out windows and lighting shit on fire than they are for fucking voting for Democrats who are going to turn around and fuck them. You know?
Yeah.
And I guess that's, I don't know. That's, like I said, that's why I crack down. That's why I'm harsher on Democrats, because I just feel like the right is a lost cause. They're going to do what they're going to do. Totally. They're the bad guys, except,
It's like having a kid. I mean, if Michael Jordan is your kid, right? And you can clearly see that this person has some real talent. You ride them and you coach them hard because you know they're capable. But you don't do the same to the kid who can barely dribble. Like, that's just cruel, right? Like, you're not capable, and so we don't hold you to the same standard. And so I do feel like the frustration of this is amplified by the fact that you don't have party opposition here. This should be a much better fight than it is. And so it's like my expectation was here and you're underwhelming my expectation, which wasn't that high to begin with. Right. You're not even meeting up to just like what the baseline level of how this should work should be. We should
don't give the cops a raise is like not even step one. Like, that's right. Like, that's such a nothing thing to ask for.
Issue. How is Sacramento not leading on this issue?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because as soon as you have a space where people are speaking truth to power, we have a leader who is so chicken shit that he calls further militarization into the community and shuts it down. Because he can't handle it, right? Like, we said this before, was it last week or week before? Like, he's too fucking sensitive. He can't actually handle the reality of the situation and take ownership for his part in it. I'm speechless.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a light in the darkness. Like, Katie Valenzuela is coming in December. Gosh. She will represent this district in a way that is much, much, much more meaningful. And I honestly, I I can't wait for this. She and a number of other people, local politicians, have just signed a pledge to not accept money from police unions, I think.
It's 3 other women, so it's 4 women who have taken this pledge together to say,
and all women of color, by the way.
All women of color, yeah.
Of course.
Right.
Because it wouldn't happen any other way.
Sure.
Yeah, because where's Angelique Ashby now?
Right. Where's the woman on the council when it comes to actually showing some leadership? No, she is the member on the council who most represents the police.
Oh yeah, totally.
And fire.
She take all their money.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat. And will champion them. I mean, Angelique is, one of the opponents of Measure G, which was going to allocate money to low-income kids. She's the woman on the council. Yikes. Ugh.
Yeah, I am. Who
has kids and who wanted to be championed for being the first, I think, person on city council to like breastfeed while she was in office. And I'm like, then care about kids.
Oh, I mean,
no, other people's kids, Angelique.
Other people's kids, non-white kids, Angelique.
Not just
when
your
I say
kids.
Care about kids, I mean the kids of people who are Black and brown also, who are who didn't go to law school with you. Like, I don't mean just kind of casually care a little bit about other middle class children and maybe a few brown ones get to sneak in. I mean,
maybe just
all the kids. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it'll be. I mean, we got Katie coming in soon, and then Flo. What district are you going to be representing?
Hey.
Very cute. Very cute.
All right. Well, you
are trolls.
Steinberg's up for that seat. Will be open in 2024.
24. Yes, he just got reelected, and he ran unopposed.
March. That's right. So when you start canvassing for your mayoral seat in like soon.
That's going to be an interesting time because Flo will be running for mayor and Mitt Romney will be running against Joe Biden for the presidency to Joe Biden's left. Watch. Fucking, I'm going to remember this episode. That's what's going to be happening in 2024.
I mean, Mitt is on a path. He may be on a path to enlightenment. I don't know.
Mitt's going to come in as the Republican who like actually wants like healthcare for all. Like Medicare for all. And the Democrats will just be completely flabbergasted. They'll be completely taken aback. They won't have any way to combat that.
I would love to have a better tenor of conversation in this country. I would love to.
Well, guys, speaking of difficult conversations, I wanted to wait until Dave wasn't here because I need to have a discussion with you, and I don't want Dave to worry about me. But I just realized the Sieg isn't going to work because I need Dave to explain it. Shannon. Shannon, I've been furloughed since March. Been reading a lot of this great content. A lot of this great Voices content, listening to these great podcasts. But I'm getting to a point where, I'm starting to run out of the stuff. And I keep, I hate just having to Google up Voices River City every time I want to read something. Is there a better way for me to access this great Voices content that I love so much to get me through this awful pandemic?
Yeah. Just want to have a moment for you in that struggle. We
want to hold space for that.
Yeah,
thanks,
I want to.
I mean, I thank you for your bravery and sharing with that with us. I know it probably took a lot since March. You didn't even share it with us all this time, so I know that.
Yeah,
I know. And I just, I just don't. I didn't want to put it on your guys' plate.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, well, you're brave.
I'm so brave.
Yeah, so you can, Voices River City, you can find us in so many places. You can find us at voicesrivercity.com. If your thing is Instagram, you can find us at Voices River City on Instagram. If you like to get at Facebook from time to time, you can get us at Voices River City on Facebook. you can find us on the Twitter, also at Voices River City. We like to keep it easy. You just Voices River City on all of the platforms.
It's not complicated. Yeah.
No, yeah. The other way that you can get hooked up with us is through Patreon. And well, if you're
for
listening to
$5
this on Friday,
a month
at the bar so what I'm thinking is bars open on Friday, so this might
we have
change.
to think of a different thing. People aren't spending $5 a month
So
on
for
it.
for those of you who aren't going out,
for those of you who are still staying home and not spending $5 at the bar, you can support the work that we do here at Voices by going to Voices or patreon.com/Voices River City. And we will take your $5. We'll take your $10, your $25, or your squillion dollars. There's some perks that go with that. And I think that's Dave's spiel.
Yeah. I think that was pretty much it. Honestly, I think better than Dave does it usually.
Oh,
yeah.
Take
you hear that, Dave?
Kempa.
I just like the for $5 a month at the bar you're not getting a beer at. Like I love that part.
Yeah, for $5.
I don't know what we're gonna do when just all the bars are open and everybody's going. We're gonna do it for $5 a month in addition to the beer you're getting. Just drop us a tip. I don't know.
You could be $5 less hungover tomorrow than you will be if you drink that.
Yes, that's it.
One fewer beer.
One fewer beer.
But seriously, tip your bartenders, but maybe don't be in a bar too much right now. Just
be in the outdoor ones and
be outdoors.
Away.
Have your own bar at home.
Right.
Tip your delivery people.
And go to patreon.com.
Patreon.com. Tip us.
Voices River City.
Tip all of the people. Give to all of the things. It's awesome.
You can find us individually on Twitter. If you want to tweet at Dave about how much better this show is when he's not on it, he's at Kempa. I am at Guillotine for You. That's Guillotine, the number 4 YOU.
I'm at Shan N.D. Stevens.
And I am at Flojaune, FLOJAUNE.
Look at us go.
All right. That's us. Well, I think we'll call it. It's we will see you guys again on Tuesday. I hope
Where are we with Be Brave Bold Robot?
Oh yeah, no, I hate those guys. I wasn't even going to talk about that. We have beef
today.
Oh. Yeah, no, we're beefing hard with those guys today. Yeah.
The beef was so hard that we weren't even going to say anything.
Yikes.
Yeah, no, I walked around the corner the other day and Dean was rolling dice in the alley with Daryl Steinberg, and they were like laughing about Measure U stuff, and I was like,
how dare you, Dean?
You are hot trash, my friend.
How dare you?
How dare you?
How dare
you
share space with the friend of the show.
Right.
The Master of Crows.
The Master of Crows. Cool. Well, I guess that's it. We'll be back on Tuesday.
Yeah. Until then, everybody please stay safe.
Stay healthy.
Stay sane.
And stay away from us.
Stay away from people. Continue to do that.
Stay 6 feet away.
Be around people that maybe wear a mask.
Yeah, wear a mask.
Yeah.
Yeah. Protect your mental health, but also protect your physical health. Let's do it all.
Protect all of your health, guys. That's the sign off now. All your health. Let's protect
risk reduction. That's our new motto. Risk reduction.
All right. Double the 2 R's.
Protect your health.
2 R's to success. That's what I'm going to call that.
This is the longest.
All right. Yeah, we need to get out of here.
Ever.
Sorry, everyone.
Done.
Goodbye.
Okay, we're done. Bye.